My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back. Today I have Kyle with me, and Kyle is someone that is very passionate about selling. You know, one of the biggest disabilities that a startup has is the fear to sell, the fear to even say the price, the fear to hear someone say, "Nope, I am not buying." One of the very first fears I had when I started out as an entrepreneur was telling someone the price. Like, I was always amazing. I always wanted to help the person. I always talked about what I did very passionately. And then the price came and I was like, oh my God, there comes the part. There comes the part where I have to ask for the money. And I always shrunk back and couldn't say the words, couldn't ask for the money, couldn't. And it was funny because the clients would message me and say, oh my God, that advice changed my life. And I'd be like, why didn't you ask for for the sale? And it was so hard. I can't even tell you that I know how I started feeling okay to sell. I can't tell you that I know what happened exactly, because at some point I just flipped the switch. I remember what happened for me is there was a guy that came to my room. I helped the guy. I helped him build his story and his brand. And then he went away and I didn't tell him the price. And the next day, somebody had scammed him about 2 Bitcoin. I looked at that and I was like, whoa. Someone sold him Bitcoin and it was like a fake scam. And from that moment, I was like, whoa, this guy was in my Zoom room. He was looking for help. He actually has a brand. He actually has a goal that he was going after. He was actually trying to build a legacy. I could have helped this guy. I could have taken $5,000 and worked with this guy. I didn't. And now he's been scammed 2 Bitcoin. And he messaged me and said, you know what, Prima, I am now bankrupt. And I was thinking about working with you. And from that time, I took it as you either take the money and do good for the people, or somebody will take the money and will have another intention. And I told myself, Prima, if today there was somebody in your room that you could help and you didn't, I hope you're okay knowing that their soul is on you, knowing that they could have changed the world and you didn't help them, knowing that they could have built that brand and you didn't help them. And so I like Kyle because this is the work he does, literally helping people change their relationship with sales using quantum physics. So I wanted to bring him on because starting out, sales can be so scary. Taking money can be so hard. And the more you don't, the more you can't change the world. Like, you won't change people's lives if you don't allow them to give you money. And for me, until I changed my relationship with sales, I couldn't do it. I had to look at someone like, I either help this person, somebody will take their money, and God knows what they will do with that money and how they will block them. And so for me, I turned it into the fear of not helping. And so today I have Kyle. And Kyle has been responsible for over $960,000 in sales, worked with 1,000+ people to this point. And he believes that the reason that startups fail, the number one reason, is their relationship with sales. He calls it the sales disability. And so his work is really to use quantum physics to help startups build a healthy relationship with sales, which allows them to grow their business, change the world. And so I am very excited to be chatting with him because I feel like sales is such a big part in life that we cannot move around it, move behind it. We have to get it by the horn and deal with it. Okay, so Kyle, welcome to the world's best kept secret. I know you're in the middle of nowhere, but we have to do this. God help us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate the warm welcome.
Yeah.
And
Why don't you tell us where you started with? I know you've had your story, you've had your school of hard knocks, you've gone through hell and back. Why don't you take us there and kind of tell us when you decided that, you know what, you're going to do this sales thing and you're going to help people with this sales thing, and come what not, you're going to change the world by helping people love sales again. So why don't you take us there? Like, where did this come from?
That's fascinating you say that, because the moral of me helping people with sales first started with my own self-help. And I work for a company where we help businesses generate leads in their businesses, like long-term business startup companies. And it really wasn't until I decided to become a quantum coach that I realized the ripple effects and the same effect sales has on any relationship, whether you're in a partnership, whether you're friends, family, business, co-workers, whatever relationship is, that sales plays a big role. So that's when I fell in love with quantum physics side of it, and also sales. Sales I've been doing for the last few years now, and it wasn't until I studied quantum coaching where I understood the mechanics between the healing process of healing yourself to overcome any sales resistance you have within yourself, whether that's fear, whether that's shame, whether that's guilt, because an unconscious belief that could be playing out.
You know, the way I look at life, I think life is a sum total of the sales you can make. You're always selling to your children, even if you don't know. You're always trying to sell to your husband or wife. You're always trying to sell to whoever. Like, I feel like everyday life is sales. You're always trying to sell someone onto your idea, onto your opinion, onto the way that you want them to go. So how would you like to take us there? Like, how does quantum physics affect my ability to sell? Tell us about that, you know, that healing, the science, and all of those things that you know that we don't, and how they're affecting how we show up and how we sell or how we don't.
So the relationship you have with sales, for me personally, it can stem back from an experience you received as a child. So that experience drags on throughout life, and then the quantum physics side of it allows you. It's the healing within, and once you can heal that part of you that's resisting any sales context, then it's the definition of who we are. So because we're all a reflection of each other. So being able to,
yeah, I want to go, like, tell us what would have happened in my childhood for me to be having a negative relationship with sales. Take us precisely and go, in my case, this is what had happened, and this is how I interpreted things, and this is how it affected me. Like, I want us to go back to first principles. And how does my childhood trauma, how does my childhood experiences show up in my sales abilities? Like, break it down for us, like, to grade 5 level there.
Yeah, so I'll give you my personal experience, but like sharing that as opposed to someone else, because we all have our different experiences. So for me, the biggest thing when you tap into your unconscious brain, there's so many negatives like behaviors, emotions that come up. So for me, the first instance of sales was when I couldn't have a chocolate, for example, like the chocolate my mum used to for me. I wanted the chocolate so bad, but then my mother denied me that chocolate. So then I had this resistance to being able to buy something, for example. And every time I buy something now, I do it out of making myself feel good. And every time someone sells me something, I do it out of the effort of knowing that they're trying to sell me something, and understand that that's their belief towards it. So my experience with sales was really traumatic when I was young. And a lot of us have those experiences, but you have to really tap into the unconscious mind to really understand where that experience comes from. There's a massive fear of rejection. So that's why I'm in a position with a job where I get rejected every single day. And as long as I can keep healing that part of me, I'm going to overcome that. and be present with it.
So as we grew up, we may have tried to put our ideas across to our parents, our friends, and we might have been shut down. And in that moment, we may have decided trying to influence another person is a bad idea. Or we may have decided we don't have the ability to, to get people to go in our direction. Or I'm just trying to generate ideas, examples of the relationships that we might have that may have something to do with conditioning. Like my dad, it was always his way or the highway. So at some point, I just gave up trying to tell my dad to do something. And I realized that I think as I grew up, I didn't have the desire to get my parents to do stuff. Because if I raised my voice and said, Dad, he would just be, no, it's this way. It was his way or the highway. So at some point, I really stopped. Like I really stopped trying to say, Dad, can I have this instead? No, if I wanted that, I went to my mom. But I don't really know if that became something. Sometimes I will reach out to someone as I'm building this stage. I will look at a coach or a healer or somebody that does something beautiful, and I'll send them a voice clip, and I will say, hey, I have the world's best kept secret podcast where I bring amazing messages and interview experts about their work. And I think you should come. I think this should be very beautiful if we do it. And they'll come back with something like, is that a sales funnel? And I'll be like, holy cow, who cares? Like, I'll be like, some people, when I invite them, they'll be like, I just want to know one thing. Are there some things you're selling? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm only trying to bring someone on because I genuinely love their message and I think that they will be an amazing guest. But it is very amazing how many people reply back like, is it a sales funnel? And I'm like, you're right, it could be. What's your worry about
it's a form of...
Like, I am not thinking like that, But a lot of things happen when I meet amazing people. And so is there a monetization angle? I don't know, People have problems and problems are solved by offers. But my initial reason is not that I'm looking at anyone as a funnel pass. Like, I'm not trying to funnel nobody. I'm just trying to look for amazing people who have a great message that the world needs to hear. But it is amazing how many people come with the objections of, if you're going to sell me your stuff, if this is a funnel. And I'm like, where does that come from? So, okay, take us there. Like, if I am here and I'm like, I really fear sales, I am really uncomfortable about asking for the price. I really feel bad when people try to sell to me. Because for me, when people come to sell to me today, I'm like, bring it on. What do you have? I need it or I don't need it. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't mind. Show me your thing. I either want it or I don't. I don't have any negative response when somebody tries to sell to me. But I know that's not the case with everyone. So tell me how I should start to decipher, I guess, my relationship with sales if I'm here and I'm just not like a fan of selling. Tell me how to start processing that, where to look, and all of those things. How should I begin to reverse my relationship with sales today?
I think the biggest thing, or I feel the biggest thing to do with your relationship with sales is actually go out there and practice. Practice getting rejected, offer your services, because I find for me, the biggest thing is practicing. If someone tells me how to do something and I practice how to do it, it becomes unconscious the more I practice doing it. So practice getting rejected or offer your services to anyone. Even if they say no, you're going to be able to build that muscle within your nervous system to cope with that relationship with not only yourself, but what other people, even healing within yourself. And it's all about going within. It's all about like understanding what's going to trigger you. Like, what are they saying is going to trigger you to say no, whether it's a fear or some sort of a trigger that's going to allow you to, it's going to bring up any sort of emotion for you. Like, breathe within your nervous system, understand what emotions coming up for you when you go and sell your product, sell your service, ask for money. What are you feeling in that moment of that happening? What's the story you tell yourself?
I have a lot of amazing experts. They will give an amazing presentation. They have life-changing work. But when it's time to pivot into the offer, that I like, oh my God, I wish this part. Okay, it's time to talk about the price. Literally, you see their mood changing from fired up, excited, serving to cringing, like, oh my God, do I have to do this? So when does it move from trauma to you just need the reps? When is it trauma versus when is it you really need to ask for money more? You really need to build the muscle. And how do I know where I am? Is it safe to assume that we all have some type of trauma that may get in the way as we try to sell? Or are there specific ways to know that I just need the muscle versus I really have some conditioning that makes it awkward to either buy stuff or sell stuff?
I think it comes down to what you're feeling, like how, like whatever comes up for you. Because trauma, we don't like, for me, I didn't realize I had trauma until I started doing the inner work on myself. And then that's when I figured I had some stuff to let go of. So for anyone listening and watching, I think it's just understanding, like feeling into it, like breathing, like just a couple of simple breaths will really understand, is it something that I've experienced before, or is it just this as a thought that I'm having in my mind? Because there may be, like, you may be trying to put yourself out there, but you're resisting it so much that it could be bringing up a lot of emotions.
So if I'm,
because trauma is
carry on.
Trauma's gonna come up whether we like it or not. There's always gonna be people in our surrounding, in our family relationship dynamics that are gonna bring up triggers for us, and it's how we react. I use this tool. It's called the arm technique. So it's basically, if someone says something to you, it's a way of shifting your mindset. So it's called action. So if someone says to you, "Oh, I don't like you," for example, or "I don't want to buy off you," action. Okay, what action can you do that's going to allow you to shift that, whether you react to it, and then switch your mindset? So it's the action, reaction, and the mindset. So the action you're going to take to better yourself, to come with a positive outcome, and what reaction can you do, and how can you switch your mindset? For example, if I get someone that really annoys me, that pisses me off, for example, okay, what action can I do now that's going to allow me to come back to myself and understand that, and I don't react to it, just breathe, and then I go to the bathroom or something. So it's understanding the discernment of what's a trigger for you, and whether it's a belief that you're holding. And you don't know that unless you do more inner work. The more you become conscious of what's coming up for you, the more you're going to be aware of where your resistance is with sales, what you need to heal within yourself, because the biggest objection is the objection you haven't healed in yourself.
I have heard someone say the most important sale you can never make is the sale of you. Being
Yes,
sold
exactly.
in you, and knowing that you have what people need, you deserve the money or whatever. Being sold that you're amazing, you're awesome, you have cool stuff that people should buy.
Yeah.
Reaching a point where you're drunk on yourself, that you believe that people need your work and they need to buy it. And stepping into that place where you're like, yeah, I'm here to serve this person, and me not being able to, get them to buy is really a disservice, because my stuff is so amazing that they need it. And so I am doing it as a service. But I like that you're talking about trigger, because I never had triggers until I got married. And my husband will do something and I will get really angry. And I'm like, where did this come from? So I think that marriage is one of the things that really shows you that you probably have some trauma work to do. I was someone who would go through year after year after year after year without picking an argument with anybody without caring what people. But then I got married, and every week there is a reason why my husband triggers me, and I'm like, dude, like, why are you trying to pick the worst bit of me in everything that I could offer? Why are you so interested in triggering me? But I never know, like, okay, how do I know? Or is it safe to just say everyone needs inner healing until they don't? So is it safe to say, yeah, I've been through life and life is just full of trauma. So let's go and try and heal. I don't know. Does it mean that if you've done inner healing, you're not triggered? Or does it mean that you deal with it better? Or I don't know. Because when
Well,
I'm triggered, when I'm triggered, I usually will write it down. So why was I triggered? So, okay.
yeah.
What can I do differently next time? What does this even mean? Like, like I never know if I need to go and get inner healing or if I need to get a better process and do better. So I'm just trying to understand, like, when you go and get the healing from the trauma that is stopping you from selling, is it that the fears don't come up, or is it that you're now more conscious and you can live, walk, sell with the fears? What's the truth there?
Yes. It's uncovering the splinters or the blocks that you have on the sales environment. Because there was a big fear for me, like it was a big guilt for me to go out there and sell my services, to go out there and sell my product, because of the shame I had growing up as a child, expressing who I was authentically. And people buy who you are. You've got to be authentic in what you do from there. And we don't need healing. Like, the healing only starts when something dramatic happens in your life, whether that's a loss of a family member, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a different bunch of stories. It's like the healing only happens when you have something really, I wouldn't say bad, but really something that hits you like negatively, and you realize you have to change your life. That's when the inner work starts. That's when the healing work starts. And if you're in a space like we're in, where we're selling our products and services, you really got to keep doing that work on yourself to allow you to become consciously aware of what you're projecting into the universe.
So am I right in hearing you say, I don't know if that's what you're saying, but what I'm beginning to pick up is sometimes you're not comfortable selling, or you just have a very negative or very awkward feeling about selling, and you've done the reps, you've put yourself out there, you've tried, but it doesn't seem to matter how much you put yourself out there, it just feels awkward. Then there is a need to dig deeper. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying, well, I don't know, what is the truth there? Like, I want to understand when healing or trauma work is required for my sales career versus when it's a lack of a muscle. Because I can understand if life happens to me and I lose somebody and I get divorced and whatever, that can be so, I don't know, so big that I have to get trauma healing. But when I am not making money, when I'm not selling, when I feel awkward about selling, when I don't show up for sales events, or when I'm avoiding selling, it is usually not that life altering. People keep thinking, oh, I don't know, it'll get better. Oh, people are bad, or the leads are bad, or I don't know if it makes sense. But like, I am trying to understand what is within my power versus when is it the time to get help and get empowered to self-heal. When is it a reps problem versus when is it you actually need the skill to heal yourself?
Yeah, I think you've got to really, everything's happening for you, and it's always in perfect timing, no matter where you're at in your journey of life or business. It's like, it's determining whether you need to work on a skill of selling, whether that's through hiring a mentor or coach. And then once you get to that point where you've got the reps in, you know how to sell. And then when you try and sell and you feel like there's no effort or motivation to sell, well, that's when there could be a resistance unconsciously that's playing out in your life, that's playing it in your business. That could mean that you're developing patterns from a version of yourself in the past that you didn't feel comfortable doing something. So in order to overcome the healing, overcome the tool of sales, you've got to actually put yourself out there. Because I know for me, like, I don't put myself out there enough sometimes, and that's when I don't get the results I want. So you've got to just build a repetition, and it becomes unconscious eventually. Does that make sense?
Yes. What I'm understanding, I'm going to kind of feed back to you, and if it's not what you're trying to put across, let me know. Sometimes it's not like you don't know what to do. Sometimes you actually know what to do. Sometimes you have the training. Sometimes you bought the courses. Sometimes you bought the coaching programs. Sometimes you have the tools. You just won't do it. Or you just back off. You know, someone comes and you just won't sell. So it's not like you don't know what to do. It's not like you don't have the tools. It's not like you haven't had the mentors, but you are clearly getting in your own way of making a sell. Sometimes someone comes, they want to buy, and you talk them out of the sell. It's like you're always sabotaging the sell.
Sabotage.
Self-sabotage. Someone will say, how much is it? You reply, and then you discount immediately. Well, it's 10,000, but. I'm like, it's 10,000. Why don't you just shut up? Like, why are you trying to explain and talk your way out of the sell? I think I really understand the point. You have the skills. You've actually tried to learn. You've invested. You've actually gone out there and tried, but you are always sabotaging the sell. Then we
do that. I did it tonight before we jumped on this, and then self-sabotaging unconsciously without realizing it. I'm like, oh shit, and now I'm consciously aware of it, and it's a story we tell ourselves. We have all these stories in our head that play out, and sometimes that story can actually be detriment to your business or your life or who you are or where you're going.
I like it. So if that's coming up for you, then it's time to look on the inside. Maybe there's some patterns, maybe there is some things, maybe there is some stories that you're unconsciously telling yourself that are getting in the way. Whoa. Kyle, tell me how you help people. Which type of startup is coming to you? Like, what problem are they having that they go, Kyle, can you help me? What is happening in their life for them to go, I need your help?
So the problem that people come to help me, people come to me for would be work out their sales process, to be able to charge more, to break through their own limiting beliefs. And I use quantum coaching, quantum physics to break through that through tapping into the unconscious brain. And also people come to me to find presence and unity in their process and selling, and overcome their own disability by going within and transforming their own sales process so they can create more impact in the world and their business.
So say I came to you and I was like, something is off. I'm not making money, but I also don't like my process. I really do not like my sales part of the business right now. Help me. What is step 1, 2, 3, 4 of your process? What exactly are we working on together if I was to hire you?
So step 1, we want to work out who your ideal target market is. Who's your niche? Who's your target market? Who are you? What problem are you trying to solve? And what is the solution to their problem? And we break that down into features, benefits, and how it works. Then obviously the process of a sales script, identifying different marketing strategies to do that through scripting of content, through scripting of calls. It's mostly people come to me for the process of sales, like how they, like objections, for example. And that's when I use quantum to release the objections within inside of them. And then step 3 is to go out there and get the feedback, go out there and test what we learn together, we get together, and role play different situations.
Okay, so step 1 is to really understand my market and my person. Like, I really have to understand who I'm trying to serve in this world. Otherwise, if I'm trying to serve everybody, it may be tough.
Yes, you got to start there. But eventually, once you start targeting everybody, You realize that you can't save everybody. You got to save yourself first, and you got to attract the one client that's going to provide you with the dream client, essentially.
I like it when people come and tell me I don't want to niche down. I want to serve everybody. That's fine. But for me, the way I understand it is it's easier to serve in a niche until you don't have to, until you've outgrown it, and then you can just. And so what I find that most people's problem is they want to start wide. But if one person is not coming, what makes you think that if you speak to millions, they'll come? I don't specifically think people need to niche, but I think that it helps. It really just gets things easier if you can speak to a segment, maybe a mindset. Actually, I don't niche down by gender and stuff. I like to niche down by mindset. You're in the mindset of bank. You're the best kept secret. Let's roll. And for that, I can keep expanding and expanding and expanding if I outgrow that place. But there is enough right now in the best kept secret place that I haven't even served 1% of them. So then why am I trying now to serve, 10 other categories? So the first thing is understand who you're trying to speak to. 2 is, I think what he's saying here is the process. So like, what is step 1 to 10 of your sales process? What has to happen before what? And then I think 3 is the resistance, the objections, the fears around it, and doing this quantum work to clear the blocks that you might have around selling, if I understand what you're saying. And off of that, now you have a process, the person, you have a clear conscience around selling. It's time to go to the market and get in the trenches and get feedback. And I think off of this feedback, there still might be more healing work that needs to be done that gets done. And off of that, as you start seeing results, you tweak and, optimize things. What did I miss there? What did I miss there? Help me understand what I've missed there.
Yeah, so it's the intangible results and the tangible results. So a lot of the transformation work comes within, and then there's sometimes people will want tangible, intangible results. So it's getting the feedback. What's the objection coming up? What's the process you're trying to achieve? What's the outcome you want for your particular client? And how are they going to feel after they work with you? And for me, I really hone in on understanding and asking the right questions for those particular people so you can attract them into your circle through the right niche, through the right sales process, through the right questioning. It's more so systems, script-based, based upon the objections they receive from the feedback they get.
I do have a question about that. I believe that most people feel awkward about selling because they're non-selling. The way they're trying to sell is out of alignment with who they are. So like for me, I have a specific way I buy. I have a specific way I respond to marketing. And so when I do a marketing strategy or a sales strategy, I try and reverse engineer how I want those things to happen to me. So if I was to be marketed to, I want someone who does not give me the hype and anything. Give me the facts. Tell me the ugly truth. I will handle it. So when I buy from people, it is people who don't sugarcoat anything. They just say their stuff. They just tell you it's going to be hard and you're going to be rejected. And anyway, we're going to sell this thing. And people are going to say no, and that's okay. Like, I buy from people who just tell you the truth. And that is how I market. And that is how people come to me, that I like the brutal truth. When I am on a sales call, I am in the mindset of, well, my stuff is great, and my job here is to help you see that. And if we are not a fit, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Like, I am in the mindset of, you don't have to buy my stuff, by the way. But if you do, it will change your life. And that is really how I sell. If somebody's trying to cajole me, bend me towards buying their stuff, I'm like, no, hold on, no. If somebody begins to say, begins to ask me questions to say I'm not serious, or I'll be like, I resist script. Like, if I come to buy from you and I think that you're trying to sell to me psychologically, I'm like, dude, how much is the thing? Do I need it or not? And so when people start to ask me those sales questions, I kind of go, let's cut this short. What do you have to offer? What does it do for me? I either want it or I don't need to be pushed around to help me to buy. Like when I come to someone, that's because I've actually made a buying decision. And in that moment, I just have a few questions. And if they answer them, I'll buy. And so for me, I buy from people. I don't buy from offers, or I don't buy because the offer is good, or because I buy because I think you're the person for the job. And when I come to you, I am sold. So help me and tell me exactly what the thing is and how it will or will not help me. I don't need, again, you to sell me on you, because I won't come to you unless I am sold on you. And so I feel like a lot of people have issues selling because they're selling in a way that is not aligned to who they are. But that's my belief.
Yeah.
Tell me tell me from your side how you relate to that. Like, can anyone learn the same way of selling? Do people have specific ways of selling? Can people thrive if they learn any sales method? What is your truth around how you sell versus how you buy?
You got sellers and you got buyers. And normally it's selling through being and not doing. So the whole transformational piece is just being your most authentic self and just showing up as you. And if you haven't uncovered that, well, that's when the quantum healing begins. Because you can do, like, I'm one of those people who's very similar to you. Like, now I am. Like, if someone wants to sell me something, just tell me what it does, how it's going to help me, what the price is. Although I do love a good sales pitch. I'm easily sold because I love a good sales pitch. See how they did it and their feedback. I always sometimes give them feedback. So it's just allowing yourself to be you. Don't try and force something, because I've learned the harsh lessons of forcing something down people's throat, and it doesn't work in my favor.
Wow. You know what I believe is that the more work you have to do to sell someone, think about that 10 times the work you have to do to keep them.
Yes.
As somebody who's sold coaching offers for 4 years, I'm at a point where I will not be willing to convince anyone that I'm worth their money, because the more convincing they need to get started, 10 times the more convincing I need to keep them in the program.
Yeah.
And so I've really learned the hard way that the more objections someone has, the less I am inclined to sell to them. So these days, if you're not a strong yes, and that instant connection is not happening, and you don't see why it is so exciting to work together, I am going to try and just not do it. Like, I won't do it. And has it made me lose money? Amazing, but I don't mind. Like, it's not worth it. What else do you believe is a super, super important thing to consider as we navigate our relationship with sales that we haven't talked about? If there was one thing that we needed to add to this conversation about becoming a friend of sales, falling in love with sales, what would you add to the conversation?
I think there's two things. One thing is that there's people like to sell how they like to be sold to. And you've got to realize there's four different types of people in this world. There's direct person, there's the influential person, there's the social person, and there's a conscientious. It's called DISC profiling. If you want to look it up, it's called DISC profiling, DISC, and it's allowing you to understand different buying types. And number two is that the questions are going to be the answers to the results of how you market yourself and your product. Because if you don't ask questions, you're not going to get the feedback you want. And the deeper the question you can ask someone of the why, the why is very important. That's when you're going to get down to the root cause of why they want to work with you. And to know the market.
Now I really pick up something. Some people are direct buyers, influential buyers, social buyers, conscious buyers. I wonder if you would like to take a minute on each of those and kind of educate us, because I feel like I'm a direct buyer. I feel my husband is a social buyer. I feel it's very important. How does this help me? How does me knowing these types help me? Because I tend to only want to sell to direct buyers, because direct buyers are direct implementers and direct buyers are direct clients. And I love, like, you know what, let's take out the chaos and let's just do the work. And so I love to sell the direct buyer because, or usually they are a direct implementer. But I can see how I'm missing out the influential, the social, the conscious person. Take us how knowing this is going to help me, because I think I practically try not to sell to the other people, like really, and I think I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. So educate me around knowing these things, or what they are and how I can use them to my advantage without signing up people that would be a nightmare for me.
So what was your question again? Reframe your question.
The question is, I'm a direct buyer, I think, and I like to, usually my mind wants to sell to direct buyers. So if somebody can't make a decision, if I have to spend hours and hours convincing, I am not going to do it. If somebody needs all of the numbers and figures and proof before they buy from me, I am not going to do it. This may this may also be the reason why I leave money on the table and I probably miss out on some amazing people. So help me understand how knowing how I sell, knowing these other 4 types of selling can help me. Or even tell us, like, what do they mean? Who is an influential buyer? Who is a social buyer? Who? Take us there, because we don't know these things, Kyal.
Yeah, so it's the language they use. So the words that come out of their mouth, their tone in their voice, and it's also how you communicate with them. Because you're a direct person, you'll communicate directly with that person a lot more than someone who's conscientious. So conscientious is someone that is conscious and they need time to make a decision. And the influential person is someone that loves to talk about their life. Steady is a person that likes to buy slowly. So you've got to really understand, one is how they're communicating with you, their tone, and what they're saying to you.
I just wonder though if I don't know, I think that's up to the person who is listening. But I personally probably don't want to sell to people who have to overthink stuff, because there will be a problem when we get to work. Because sometimes we have to implement something and I don't have all of the house. And sometimes I need someone who can move. And so if I sell to an analytical person, we're going to have a problem, because I expect them to just move, go to the market, get in the weeds, get the information. Like, there's a lot of people that want the answers before they move. And sometimes I don't know all the how. Sometimes I have to look at the client to tell, like, okay, they've taken this step, this is how it looks, so I think I know their next step. But until they take the step, I don't really know, like, what it's going to look like. And so the question I'm trying to ask you is, what's your experience in selling to different people who are out of your own way of buying? Is there a way to make it work, or is it something to go, yeah, if you're willing to do the work along the way? Because us as coaches, it's not about the sell. The sell starts, or the work starts, when we get the money. So now when someone pays you, now there's a whole year of dealing with this person. And for me, that is where my objection comes. Like, I need to know who not to sign up, because the moment I take your money, you've now become my responsibility. And now I've just locked myself in for a year with this person. Is this a conversation we can have, or is it kind of outside your context? Because I understand that your context is to sell, make the sell, move. Or do you think through these things? When you sell somebody who is like a conflicting personality, are you thinking about back end, what is going to happen when they buy? Or are you like, no, how do we get paid? That is like the context in which you want. Yeah.
It's funny because the sale, the the transformation happens in the sales process, that initial contact. So as soon as you start speaking to them, and then that commitment, they make, the energy exchange with you to support them in whatever you're providing the service to them. And it's your responsibility to identify whether it's a sale to be made. Not whether you're going to sell them into your program. It's identifying what's their problem. Do I have a solution to their problem, or am I just trying to make the sale here? And if you don't have a solution to the problem, well, then you're inauthentic within yourself. But if they have a problem, you can solve the problem. You need to do everything in your power to sell them into your program. And that sometimes can mean that you may sound passionate or forceful, but at the same time, you're doing them a disservice by letting them go.
That's good one. I am not the sales guru here, but what I might add to that is that you also need to make the decision if this is the type of person you want to work with. So do you have answers to their problem? Can you help them? Yes. Yeah, but like, do you want to do it? Is this the person you want to help? Is this the person who is gonna be, I don't know. Is it someone that you can help, or is it gonna be somebody that you dread seeing every day?
And if it's not, then refer them through to someone and turn them down. Like, there's no harm in saying no. It's the hardest thing is about letting go of that person and not trying to hold on to them so tightly without realizing you can't help them.
You can help people by referring them to another expert. I really love what you do. Yeah. I know a guy that might be perfect. People really appreciate it when you say, I am not your expert, but I know this guy. I would be happy to introduce you. You may be a match in heaven. Amazing. Yes. Kyle, I know you have to jump. However, I can't help but want to ask you what your sales process looks like. Like, if you could give us 5 minutes or 10 minutes of that. From I don't know you, I have seen your content, I am a little bit interested. Now I want to work with you for the rest of the year. I want you to take us through that, like, if you can. I know we don't have a lot of time, but what does that look like for you?
So the first thing is we'd have to have a 15-minute conversation. I ask you very simple questions on where you're at, what you want to help with, what you want support with. And it's literally a 3-step sales process. And then we have a secondary conversation, and then I show you what I can do for you. And then we work out whether they're the right fit with each other. And then it's up to you to decide.
So the first 15 minutes, what are you exactly doing in that call?
I'm just getting to know the person, getting to know you, understand what your values are, what your beliefs are, what you're struggling with, what your goals are, what your aspirations are, and where you see yourself in the next 6 to 12 months' time.
And the secondary call, what are you doing there? What are you doing in that call?
Is the onboarding process.
It's not a sales call. It's an onboarding process. What's the difference?
The difference between that, well, first the first call is just to understand what you do. I understand like how I can help you. Normally it's either 1 or 2 call close. Normally it's a 2 call close because the second call is to onboard you. If I feel like we're the right fit, I'll let you go over the information, and then we'll have a further conversation if you want to work with me or not.
So are you asking the do you want to work together question in the first call, or is the first call really to go, can I help you? Okay.
It depends on where they come from. For example, if they come from online, it's different to a referral if someone's referred them through to me because I know they want to work with me. I don't work with just anyone. I make sure I select and choose my clients that have gone to the depths I've gone to my own journey. Because I've had clients in the past that have wasted my time. So that's why it's a 2 call process.
Okay, so I am wanting you to give me this process in regards to what you teach. I know you do a 15 minutes, you do a second call, then you do the decision thing. But if I was to say, oh, teach me how to sell, what process are you teaching me? That's what I'm after.
It is no silver bullet. It's refining your own sales process. It's not teaching you how to sell. It's teaching you what to become to sell. And it's refining the questions. It's refining the structure of the introduction, the purpose, the understanding of that client, and then the problem you're going to help them solve, then presenting them your product or solution to their problem and asking for the money. And what I teach clients is the whole process from start to finish, and going through the different emotional levels of where your sales could be being resisted in that aspect of it, and building out funnels, building out structures for you to implement.
So if I was to take away something today, and I was like, I can get people in the calendar, no problem. I can do the 15 minutes. I can probably understand where they are, where they're going, and if I can actually help them. For the right person, I probably can take the money. But you know what, Carl? I don't understand how to do a 60-minute free call and turn it into a buying person. And if we had like 5 minutes to that, what would you tell me? How should I begin to think through my 60-minute conversation to sell someone my high ticket offer, which you're calling the onboarding? What are the steps in that? Yeah.
Firstly, it's 60 minutes, so it should be shortened down because a sales call only lasts probably 15 minutes unless you get a person that wants to talk about their problems all the time. And it's just cutting straight to the chase and basically uncovering what they want. There's different ways. There's so many different processes you can use to uncover what someone wants in a matter of 15 minutes. It's just being able to control the outcome of the call.
So are you saying in that 15 minutes you're getting a yes, or you're getting to a place where there's a problem that you can solve, and the second call is to solve that problem?
And there's a sale to be made. If there's a problem I can solve, then I'll let them know. If there's a problem I can't solve, then I'll refer them to someone else.
But you're not taking the money in that call, are you?
No, not necessarily. Not unless I feel like there's a problem I can solve.
I think I want to bring back Kyle at some point and I want him to tell us about his sales process. If I sit with someone on the Zoom room and it's probably 60 minutes, and now I know we have a problem to solve and I know I can solve it, but I want to take them through that process of giving me the credit card. I feel like there's a process there that he needs to give us, but we're out of time. And so hopefully I can convince him to come back and we go through that. If somebody was watching Kyle and they were like, I want to connect with this guy, I think he can help me. What should they do? Where should they find you? And all of those nice things.
Pardon?
If somebody was watching and going, I like this guy, I think he can show me some stuff. Where should they go to connect with you?
Go to my socials, Kyal, Kyal, and Currant, Currant. You can message me on there. I'm currently off social at the moment, but I am available on Messenger and LinkedIn as well. You can reach out to me there. I'm checking it here and there, and just reach out and we can have a chat. If anything, I have a free ebook around sales, overcoming objectives that I can give to you, and then further conversation.
Do you have like a link they can book themselves, or it's just message me and we can take things from there?
Yeah, there's a link on my socials, and there's also, you can just message me, and I've got some free resources on my Instagram.
Okay.
Like PDFs, a free ebook, and a podcast as well.
Tell me about your podcast.
It's called the To Be Podcast. So it's basically people sharing their stories of where they've come from and how they've triumphed over their challenges in life to where they are now, and just inspiring people.
It has nothing to do with selling, does it? Disappeared. We just lost Kyle there, but I'm excited that we did this. Kyle is on social media. You can go to Facebook and LinkedIn, and you should be able to see his work. You should be able to connect with him. Every link that Kyle has talked about will be rightfully in the show notes. I sincerely hope this has been helpful. My summary of his work is that Kyle's work from when we started to where we are is that you can improve your relationship with sales ultimately. And what I really understood from him is that sometimes you're back. I was doing a recap. So what I understand from Kyle is that sometimes you have tried everything. You've taken the courses, you've taken the coaches, you still have a resistance to sales. And in which case there may be something internally that is holding you back from selling. And so at some point it may be worth it to dig into the inner self and heal some of those wounds so you can remove the blocks that are stopping you from creating the impact you're trying to create. What I understood from him is that he really helps people map out their own custom sales processes. A sales process that is truly yours, that you don't have to adopt another person's process. But now he's back, he can tell us. So, Kyle, if someone missed everything you said from the start to the finishing, and they are just logging in right now, and they're like, oh my God, I have 2 minutes with these people, what do you want them to remember from our conversation?
Sales is everything you do in life. Whether you're buying something, whether you're being somewhere you're being sold to. And it's up to you to be the best version of yourself so you can attract that within your business, within your life, within your relationships, and do the work on yourself to be the person that people want to buy from.
Amazing. We already talked about Kyle and how you can get in touch with him. All the links that Kyle has talked about will be rightfully in the show notes. So if you're watching this on a podcast platform, check those show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, check those show notes. And connect with Kyle, tap into his free resources. Give him a shout, get on call with him and allow yourself to change your relationship with sales. I totally agree with Kyle that really, like, sales is everything. You win sales, you win the game of life. You're always trying to sell, whether you know it or you don't. You're always trying to sell someone on something, and is in your best interest to master sell. There you have it, friends. Thank you so much for hanging out today with us. You could surely have been doing a million other things with your time. You chose to hang out with us, and I really hope that this has served you. If you know one person that feels really awkward with selling, if you know one person that has started this business and that business and that business, and their problem has always because they never sold. If you know anyone that is trying to make up for the lack of sales courage with building a new website, creating another social media post, these people who keep inspiring the world, but they won't get to the sale. If you have a friend like that who have an amazing message, but they just can't get themselves to sell, I'd love for you to do one thing, and that is share this episode with them. I want them to meet Kyle because his mission is to help people love sales, help people sell more. So if you know someone with a great message who really just can't get themselves to sell, I would love for you to share this episode with them. Until, my friend, this has been the episode for today. Follow, subscribe, rate, do all of the amazing things, grow the community, because the bigger we grow, the bigger stuff I can do, the bigger the guests, the bigger, the merrier. And I really am appreciative that you are a part of this and you are participating in any way that you can. Thank you for today, and I'll talk to you very soon. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.